just so you're all aware of this, I sent you all an email this morning, and this is more for the benefit of the people who are not here today. They both let me know that they're out sick, but that's the YouTube channel. So if you click on the URL, as it says, it brings you out to the YouTube channel. And right now there's almost 50 videos out there, but we're going to look at this Bitbucket demo. I did it this morning also, but there's the Chapter 6 ShapeUp, the Chapter 5 ShapeUp, the Chapter 7, and the Chapter 7 ShapeUp will be up here in just a bit. All right, so if you do miss and you need to go back and take a look at anything, or if you didn't miss but you just didn't understand something, that's always the best place, at least I think, for you to go. All right, so again, the idea with Chapter 7, if you look up on the screen here, we have to add this. As you can see, this will be an unordered list that we'll be adding. And when you look at it, you can figure out too that whatever the active page is will have black text. The other pages will have white text. All right. And you'll notice that as we move from page to page, whichever one we're highlighting will have like a lighter background. And then finally, the stress relief and the healthy diets will have drop downs. And I believe for all of these, you've got the text in there. You're going to be pushed off to another page like that. All right. So, like I said, that's the idea. So what I'd like us to do, question got asked to me. Somebody asked me this the other day. They said, are we still supposed to turn this stuff in? Yes. I'm doing it so I can give you more points. That's the rationale behind it. So yes. So the stuff that we did last week for chapters 5 and 6, I always said it's due a week after we did it. I don't remember the exact date that we did it. All right, but no later than tomorrow. How's that? All right. So what I'm going to do, the first thing that I'm going to do, and that's what we're doing later. So hold on. Is on my desktop, I have Chapter 6 from what I did last time, and I copied it over to Chapter 7. All right. Make sure this is the right one. Yeah. Okay. So I took my Chapter 6 that we worked on before, and I copied it into Chapter 7. Everybody understand that? That's the one that I'm going to be working with. All right. So I'm going to open up from there the index.html. All right. I'm just going to close these. And I'm going to also open up from the styles, the main.css. Okay. So again, this was the Chapter 6 stuff. And I copied this in on Friday. What do you mean? What do I mean? These are the instructions for Chapter 7. I use the Chapter 6 two-column layout. Then I want to add a two-tiered navigation menu. Afterwards, we want to format the navigation menu for the colors like I showed you. We want to remove the links from the H3 headers in the section, since now they can be accessed from the menu. We want to modify the logo. I did not say that to you before, but hopefully you all know this as an example. If what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to click the logo from any page and have us get back to the home page. Quite often that's the way that people set that up. Is you can click the logo, which is on every page, and it'll send you back to the home page. All right, so we will do that. And we'll format the list in the sidebar so there's no space to the left of the list items. All right, so I'm going to start by going through, and yeah, I've done it already, so it makes it easier for me, but that means hopefully I won't screw it up when I go over it with you. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to type in here Chapter 7 ShapeUp. All right. It's always nice to know what chapter you're working on. For the style sheets, normalize in main, I won't need that main 3-column. We're not working with that one. And I've got the favicon in here already. Here's my header section. Index. Got the images. All right. Now, if you look on here, we're going to change this a little bit. Why? Remember, what we want to have happen is when you click on this, all right, that image, we want to make it clickable, the logo. So boom, regardless of what page we're on, we're going to go back to the home page. Does that all make sense to everybody? All right. And the way we're going to do this is like this. I'm going to first start out with my href, and I'm just going to have it go to index.html. All right. And now what I want to do is normally this is where we put the text. We're not putting text. We're putting that in there. Does that make sense? So this is saying that on every page now, and I'm going to have to copy this to the other pages. All right. So I'm going to grab that. In fact, I think that's all I have now is the index page, so it's no biggie. But eventually, we will be adding other pages onto this. All right. So if I go and run this, I'm already on that page, but hopefully you can see that link is now clickable. That's the key thing. And if I look down here, it's telling me that I'm going to go to my index.html file. All right. So we've already met one of our requirements. Let's see, in chapter 7 there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that we were supposed to do, it looks like. All right. So that's the first thing. Now, going back into here, again, I'll put that up here, so if you want it, you can have it. But again, all we did was we took our existing image that you should already have, and we surrounded it with anchor tags. All right. And again, ideally, you all understand what that means. Here's a hint for you. You will be required to do that on your next test. Bless you. All right. Why? Because again, it's just pretty much standard that that's how people do things. All right. Okay. Then we've got our H2 and we've got our H3. That ends our header. Okay. Then we come in here. And I'm looking in here. Now, I'm just double checking. I know it's not in here, but I'm checking anyway. So I'm going to come right here and I'm going to search for nav. And it says I don't have a nav section. All right. So I'm going to put one in right now. All right. You've got your choice when you do this. You can put the header right inside of, you can put the nav right inside of the header, or you can put it outside of the header. And you'll see it both ways. That's all I'm telling you. You will see it both ways. For now, we're going to put ours outside. All right. So we're going to come right down here, and we're going to put in a nav. And hopefully you're all astute enough to realize, all right, that if I go run this right now, it's not going to look any different because we haven't put anything in there yet. Not only that, until we put in some some CSS for it, it's going to look pretty butt ugly. That's okay. All right, it'll look better fairly soon. All right, so this is where we're going to put in our menu. You don't have to do this, but I'll put in here. This is where we're going to put in our horizontal menu. And it'll be horizontal, two-tiered. All right. So how are we going to do this? The same way they showed it in the book. We're going to start with an unordered list. All right. So we're starting with an unordered list. And that unordered list at the start is going to have 4 different list items in it. And because I'm just going to cheat a little, I'm going to put that in there 4 times, but I'm going to make a bunch of changes to it. All right, I'll let you catch back up. Again, if I save this and go and run it, doesn't look very good right now because there is absolutely no CSS that we have added for this. All right, so it's vertical, as you can see, and it really doesn't look very nice. That's fine. We'll get that fixed in a bit. Also, please, if you look up on the screen, does this make sense to everyone? We only want one class to be current. That'll be the page that's currently up on the screen. So if we copy this, when we get done with this menu, if we were to copy this, let's just say we had an index page, etc. If we had all these pages, we would want to change all those so that the class was current on the right page. Now you'll notice LI, 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 and that ends there, because we're going to put another UL inside of this. A little smaller. Which here? That one there is going with this one here. I do? Okay. You're correct. Actually, that closing UL should be moved down. So right there. I'm not done yet. We're going to make one more. Oh, I'm sorry. And then for the nav here, we better put an ID in there. You can see that now, again, still doesn't look very nice. You can see what the submenu looks like without there being, went from here to here. So that's what we just added. Does everybody have that much so I can move it up a little bit? Does everybody have what's in gray up there? I'm going to take this stress thing, oops, not like that. I'm going to take this stress thing and I'm going to copy it to the clipboard and I'm going to paste it in right underneath it so I don't have to do a lot more retyping. Okay, this one is going to change to diet. And that should be everything that we want to put into the nav section. Again, if you didn't do so, please make sure that at the top of your nav, give it an ID of nav menu if you did not do so. After we start putting in CSS, if you don't have that in there, it's not going to work. All right, so does everybody have that? A couple people are still just finishing up. All right, now I'm looking underneath here, and I'm going down to the main, and I've got that. What? Remember how we moved that aside because we wanted that to be to the left? Everybody remember that? We don't want it there anymore, so I'm going to take the aside, move it down to the bottom, right above the header. So I'm going to highlight all of that, copy it to the clipboard, get down to the bottom of my section, and right there, paste it in. If you say, I don't know what you did, yes you do, but in case you say you didn't, okay, there it is right now, it's over there, and what we just did was we moved it to the other side. Okay? Do we have to do that? No, but just leave it, you know, that'll be fine for right now. All right. Now, the other thing that they tell us to do as we look around in here is if you look, let's see. Look up on the screen if you would, please. Does everybody agree when you look here, look, there's an H3, and we're now hyperlinking to build strong muscles, right? We are hyperlinking to get your heart rate up. We are hyperlinking to all this stuff And to my knowledge, we don't need to be hyperlinking to it anymore because that's what we're putting into our menus. So when you look at virtually all these H3 tags that we have in here, starting from the first one right under the block quote, it's got what we offer, and you've got build strong muscles. Change it so it just looks like that. Get rid of the anchor link. All right. So get rid of that for build strong muscles. Get rid of it for get your heart rate up. Remove both tags, the beginning anchor tag and the ending anchor tag. Get rid of it for relax. Get rid of it for eat what's right for you. When you get done, it should look something like this. All right. Now you'll notice, if you look up on the screen, please, you'll notice that this is down here. Had we put it in the header section, it would be inside of this thing that's up here. Does that make sense to everyone? All right. But when you look at it, as far as what the ending thing is supposed to look like, I don't even know if I've got it here anymore. There. You'll notice that it's not inside of the header. All right. And now that I'm looking at it, they've got that over here, so maybe we shouldn't have moved it. You know what? I don't care. All right. If you want to move it back so it looks just like it, move it back. I don't really care. But I'm more concerned with us building this. All right. So, to my knowledge, I'll have to go back and double check, but to my knowledge, we don't have anything else we need to put on the index page. Yes? Is there such a thing as too much hyperlinking on a web page? I guess it's a matter of taste. You know what I'm saying? I mean, let's say that I was going to do a sports page, and I was going to do about the history of some team. Let's say the history of the St. Louis Cardinals. All right? If I had literally hyperlinks on there to every great player there's been on the Cardinals, I could fill up a whole page with that, right? And that would be too much. So you'd probably want to break it down. If you know, but there's no hard and fast rule. There's no URL police. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to jump over to my CSS. All right. Now, what have I done here? Well, let's see. I removed the links from the H3s since they can now be modified. Would you agree with that? Those are gone. I did modify the logo so that it's displayed. When you click on it, it goes to the home page. Okay, so it looks like I've got these three things left. Add the two-tier menu. Well, we added the menu, but we didn't format it yet. All right, and then we do have to format it. So really, I guess I've done this one too. But I'm going to leave that up there because there's so much text in there. So I want to concentrate on these two things. Format the navigation menu so the background color is steel blue. So the link for the page that's currently displayed, in this case the home page, has black text. And so the link that the mouse hovers over has light steel blue. So that's what we want to do first, is this stuff. Then we want to format the list in the sidebar so there's no space to the left of the list items. What does that mean? That means that right now, when you look at this, okay, there's space in there. We're going to want to remove that. Okay, so again, ideally when we get done, see how the dots line up with the A there, and they don't right here. Okay. In fact, the other thing too is, notice list style none. We don't have that yet. That's another thing we're going to have to fix. All right. So those are all things that we're going to have to take a look at changing. All right. The good news is we don't have to change most of the stuff. I mean, our body is fine. Our H1, H2 is fine. Our anchor link is fine. Except for our anchor links, we can now go in and do this. What's the magic thing we do to turn off the underlining? Text, decoration, none. I put that in. I go back to my page. I refresh, and those are gone. So that's done. Good. Again, just text, decoration, none. All right. To my knowledge, our header, so this was the new one we put in. Now, if this helps you, you look up on the screen, since this is CSS, if this helps you, then put a comment here that says something like, added in Chapter 7. If you're like, no, I got too many comments anyway, then don't. But this way you've always got your electronic trail, so to speak, as far as what you've done. All right. To my knowledge, I don't think anything changed in the header here. Nothing changed in the image. Nothing changed in my H2. Nothing changed in my H3. But before I go down to the section, now I'm going to put in what? Styles for the nav section. And I really do want you, again, people always say, well, are you going to take off if we don't? I hate that question, to be honest with you. But with some of you, when you came up and you were asking me questions last week, your stuff was thrown all over the place on your CSS. You had, for example, to me it makes sense to put it in order. Header, header image, header H2, header H3, etc. I would like you to do that. The bottom line is, does your stuff work? But what's going to happen is if you don't give it a rhyme or reason and you don't put stuff in any kind of order, you're going to end up suffering for it. If for no other reason, somebody who ends up taking over for you is going to always be bugging you. Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? You're probably going to want to tell them, just do whatever the hell you want to do. Get away from me. All right? But if you just do it right to begin with, it makes it much easier for you and for anyone who may take over for you. Remember, we gave it an ID of nav_menu. All right, so we're going to start putting in stuff for our menu here. All right, is there a lot? Yeah, there is. The first thing that we want to do, all right, just in case there was any float left, I'm just going to put in here a clear. I'll clear left. I probably could even clear both. And border, bottom, 2 pixels, solid, steel blue. We were told to put that in our specs. We were told to add this. Now, all I'm going to do real quick is just jump back to the page. There it is, and I'm going to refresh. That's what we've got. That's all that did. All right, we'll worry more about it later. I'm not worried about it right now. But it was just that. Clear left and border bottom, 2 pixels, solid, steel blue. All right. This, what I'm going to be showing you now, it's probably, until you get your way through it, it may be amongst the hardest things to understand as far as stuff we've gone over so far. That's why I'm going to do one thing, then I'm going to show you what it looks like. Then I'm going to do another thing, then I'm going to show you what it looks like, as opposed to typing in a lot and then showing you the finished product. All right? So, we've got our nav menu. Next. I don't know why I put that there, but I did. That should have been enter. And the next thing will be our nav menus, our unordered list. That unordered list should have a list style of none, and it should be positioned relative. So this is what we've added so far. Everything you see right there. All right. I'm going to go back. I'll come right back to it. But if you please look on the screen, notice what it looks like. Okay. Doesn't look like we did a whole hell of a lot, to be honest with you. All right. But it's getting there. So this says to apply this to the list itself. So for anything on that list, we don't want there to be any kind of list style. That got rid of those dots. This is going to position it relative to where we currently are. All right. And again, when people say, well, why'd you do that? What does that do? The best way to tell you is to get it all done, get everything finished as we build it a piece at a time, then start commenting stuff out. Then you can see what happens when you take something out that you put in. All right. All right. Now the next thing we want to do is under our nav menu. We want the UL, but we want the LIs that are in here. And we want to float those to the left. Again, is that mandatory? That's the way it is typically done. But my guess is when we look at this and I refresh, wow, that sure fixed it, didn't it? All right. Again, I'm not worried about it right now, but I'm showing you what's happening as we're making our way across here. All right. So we got a float left. Now, one of the reasons we're getting this, please look up on the screen. Can somebody tell me why are we getting all that junk? Yeah, we haven't hidden those submenus. You may or may not remember this. We did talk about this earlier in the semester. If you say display : none, they will disappear until you want them shown. When do we want them shown? When we hover our mouse over them. All right. So what we want to do right now is we want the pound nav menu UL. All right. So that's when we have an unordered list under an unordered list. So we want to display none, position, absolute, top 100%. It's just going to be a positioning thing. So we just added this. And again, I'm going to go back again and refresh. Now it's looking a little better. The stuff is still running together, but it's still looking a little better. All right. So again, we came in. We said the menu itself should be, we want to clear. And then we did our border bottom. Then for every unordered list that's right under the menu, we wanted there to be no dots, and we wanted it to be relatively positioned. Then for all the LIs underneath those ULs, we wanted them to float to the left, and every unordered list that's inside of an unordered list, we wanted it by default not to display. All right? And we wanted its position to be absolute, which means we'll want it right underneath that particular menu item it's associated with. Yes. Now, when I do go back here, I'm going to see if this works now. See, right now, if I click on these, what does it do? Well, it goes someplace, but it's not showing me. It's not showing me the submenus, correct? And it's not because I have to equate those or link those up, so to speak, all right, with the mouse hover. And we'll do that in just a minute. We're not there yet. All right. So we've done our UL. Now we've got to do those LIs inside of there. Pound nav menu. UL, LI. Float, none. We don't want there to be any floating whatsoever. That should work. This is about half the stuff we have to do for the navbar. So we're about halfway through. Then to my knowledge, I don't know if we got to change much on the section or on the footer. Probably little to nothing. Yes. Yes, I can. There? Do you ever see what I don't even know if they still make them. I know they did when I was a kid. That you can get those paint by number sets. You know what I'm talking about? It would be, you could see it was a picture of something. When ones were green, you'd paint it, it would be leaves, etc. Well, that's kind of what we're doing here. And we've got the numbering, but we're saying we want to make sure we do it in a specified order. If you did one of those as a kid, you might have done it, oh, red, that's my favorite color. So you do all the red stuff first. But we're not doing it that way. We are trying to give some rhyme and reason to the entire thing. Now this one, nav menu, UL, UI, if I hover, then it says to display all of the unordered lists that are underneath there, display them block. What does that mean? Each on its own line, right? So if you look, what that is meant to do right there, that is meant to do these. All right? And I'm not going to lie to you, we're getting into some fairly heavy CSS here. All right? You may want to, one of the reasons I want to go over this, I'm not going to try to inundate you when you take your next hands-on test. Yeah, do this. I got to make sure you do every one of these things. No, but the site, with every single written test, should be looking more and more professionally done. All right, and that's what we're going to be working toward. All right. Next, pound nav menu UL after. So what do we want to do after that? There shouldn't be any content. Display block. And again, I'll let you look at that. We've got about 4 or 5 more things we got to add here. All right. But again, when I go back now to this, all that did was move this down a little bit. It's looking a little better. It's not done yet. And as I mentioned, I'm trying to work my way down on this so you can see stuff every time, as opposed to, oh, let's go in reverse order just to see what it would look like. One thing I forgot, if you look up on the screen, I want to put my own margin and padding in. All right. In other words, I want to make sure those ULs have their own margin and padding. So what I should have put in here was margin 0 and padding 0. All right. I'm going to start putting space between them in just a second. And I may have just gone from bad to worse as far as how this looks. I don't know. Not really much of a change. Hey, look what's here. See that? I'm getting those now. So again, I just, under my nav menu, that should be under the UL. Boy, oh boy. Put it here, please. I apologize. Put them under the UL, not under the nav menu itself. Put them under the UL. Margin 0, padding 0. So add those here. All right, we've done a lot of this stuff already. All right, we've got the ULs, the UL, etc. But one thing I'm looking at is the UL, is, you know, the LIs under the ULs. What about the anchor links themselves, right? The anchor links. Now, I noticed the author put his down there, but I didn't do that. I said if I'm going to do a UL, LI, and I'm going to have an A, I'm going to put it right there. See what I'm saying? I'm trying to keep stuff that I think belongs together. So it doesn't matter really where you put it as long as you've got it in there. Should be A, not above. And let's see what we did. Again, I'll come right back to it. Wow, that's looking a little nicer now. And notice we already have those. All right. So this is what I just added right under the nav menu UL LI. I added the UL LI A. Go what?
For the, I'm not getting the drop down in HTML.
Oh, the HTML part. Yes. I did it with a 2-column layout. You could do it with a 3-column layout. Yeah. What you're going to have to do then is you're going to have to change the width of that. Probably to make it either 100%, or if you're using like 1200 pixels, make it 1200 pixels. You have the same thing as Christian. If you used the 3-column layout to do this one, you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to make sure that thing is 1200 pixels. Because right now I'm using the 2-column, which was 900 pixels. All right. We just did this one, correct? But you may or may not remember, please look up on the screen here. This is the finished one. Remember how the current one's supposed to have black text? Pretty simple fix. All right, so I'm going to just grab all of this. Right underneath this, I'm going to put in that. But look on the screen, dot current. Remember we put that class equal current? And then all I have to do here is to just say color black. I'll know real fast whether or not that worked. So I just added this one. And I'll know real fast whether or not it worked, because when I come back to here and go to here and refresh, that should become black. And it does. All right. The question was, where did you add the class current? That was in the HTML, and that was right here. You only want one of those, because otherwise you're going to have more than one that's going to be black. And as you add pages, you'll want to change that class equal current to reflect whatever the current page is. All right. The only other thing I have to do is when I hover over the current UL, I want that to be a light steel blue. So I want nav menu, ULLI. So I can grab this and just make some changes. Remember, when you do the hover, you should also do the focus. So I just added, the last two I added were these two right here. So again, after I go back to here and I refresh, now notice how the color is changing. You notice too how this gets bigger only when I have the submenus. As soon as I move off, it gets smaller again. All right? So it is changing dynamically. Check. I think that's everything that we have to put in there, but I just want to double check to be sure, because I could be very well wrong. See something else here. Okay, I don't know why, and I didn't do this, but I went and looked at the way the author did the key, and I think the author did this just to show you something. All right, and that is this. He went to the section. Remember how we moved the aside, so it went over on, we changed the sides of it. Go and float right the actual section itself, add that line there, float right, then it'll make it look the way that it looked before. Again, I'm not real sure why he did that. Do you have to do it? I mean, that's the wrong question to ask. Now, if you're doing a 3-column, that might really screw up the way yours looks. I don't know. But I'm doing it based off of what was on the Chapter 7 thing that I gave you. And they actually have both of them. They have the 2-column and the 3-column on there. So those of you who are working on the 3-column, I guess you're done with that one already. All right. What I'm going to ask that you do, I'm going to give you time. I don't want to sit and talk. It's a Monday. I'm going to go through this and see if we finished. Then I'm going to ask you to try to do the other one yourselves. All right. That's how I think you start learning. You've already got the first part of it done. All right. So let's see. H1, that looks good. H2, that looks good. I will in just a sec. I just want to make sure that there's nothing else I have to add here. Side, that looks good. That looks good. That looks good. Oh, there is one thing. On the aside, please in your HTML find your aside in your unordered list. don't put that in there. That's putting your hands on the wrong keys. So under the aside UL, add that last line that's in there. Let's put footer. I believe that's the only other thing that we have to work with. And again, as always, I'm going back to this page and I'm going to refresh. Hopefully you notice that moved over once I did that. All right. Now, what did you ask me to go back to?
That specifically you're supposed to add, is that one of those things where if it doesn't look good on our webpage, like you don't have to add it?
What do you mean if it doesn't look good on yours? Well, if you're doing the 3-column, your requirements are going to be different. See what I'm saying?
For the chapter 7, is that, are we not supposed to be doing the 3-column?
Chapter 7 had 2 pages on it. What I'm doing is the first one, which is the 2-column. That's what we just did. It also asks you to do the 3-column, and it gives you some stuff for that too. All right? So we have ended up doing a lot of the stuff for the Chapter 7, the 3-column already. But the idea is this is what yours should look like now for the 2-column. All right? And the only thing that you're going to basically be adding for the 3-column is the other aside. But we've already done a lot of the requirements that you were supposed to do for the 3-column. That's what I'm telling you. Didn't it do it here? Nope. Oh, that's up here. See that? No, it's not. I guess I missed that on the requirements. I would never take off or something like that, but I'll have to go and look at mine to see what I did wrong. I'm not going to lie to you. When I did these, it was right when the semester ended, last semester. So these were done in May. So when people say, why'd you do that? I have absolutely no idea. Really. You know, like I said, it's 4 months ago, and I don't know. So what we have done for Chapter 7 is we did the 2-column layout. All right, yeah, if you can, go in and like you said, try to see if you can fix that. All right, I can think of ways to fix it right now. First thing I do would be to take where we added that border on the bottom and take it off and see what happens. Well, if you do the border, yeah, you can try that. That's what worked for yours? So in other words, you did this. So someplace in here, I don't even remember where we put that, but it was there. Change that to top. Let's see. Yeah, well, it looks a little better to me. It's what?
It's not like covering out the other stuff, like a little overlap, pushing it all down.
Yeah. Are you, what we're doing here, you mean, as opposed to what?
On mine, it doesn't do that. It just overlaps.
Okay. Yeah. Well, part of it's because what I did was some of the requirements I put in so you'd understand them, I mixed both those requirements together. All right? You actually didn't, for the first part, for the two thing, you didn't have that many requirements. You understand what I'm saying? So do the best you can. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the rest of the period. All right. If you want, you could try to fix it so it covers it up like this as opposed to what I have where it pushes it down. All right. I don't really care which way it goes, whichever one you think looks better. All right. And then try to do the 3-column menu. One of the things it said in there, because you'd mentioned that, was they did mention to go in and change that to 1200 pixels in the requirements that were in there. Okay. So this will be due a week from today. All right. The other thing too, just so you know, because I'd asked you about this the other day, and I just wanted to show you mine. This is how your really exciting instructor spends his Saturday nights. The exercises that I asked you to do, these, there was the first one. I don't know if you remember that or not. My screen is too big, but okay, that was number 1. That was number 2. That was number 3. That was number 4. There's number 5. And I think 6 just moves that over here, I believe. Yep, there's 6. You don't have to write any code to do those. All right. In other words, all I did was I added divs, and then you have to go in with the CSS and set the divs up. I really like the exercise he did. I like this exercise. All right. I passed this one out Friday, so let's do this Friday. Now, just so you know, we're what? In week 4 now, I think. Something like that. A week from today, I'm going to meet with each one of you in the conference room. I'm going to show you your attendance schedule, your grades thus far, and say, do you have any problems? All right? And I'm not saying this for kudos, for pats on the back. I don't want any of that stuff. But you may be thinking to yourself, well, my biggest complaint is you're giving us too frickin' much work. I've cut down the amount that Evan's giving in St. Louis. You're getting about 3/4 of what he's giving. All right? In fact, he even asked a couple times. He was the one who wanted me to make sure that you did this assignment. Okay? But, that's your right. If you want to say that, you will do a course review for me at 9 weeks where you're able to write anything down you want. You're going to get 15 minutes. I'm going to walk out of the room. They'll all be on paper. I'll have no idea who did what. It's your business. All right? And if there's a recurrent theme in the class at that time, then I'll see if I can adjust accordingly. All right? But if everybody says, oh, you're giving it's fine, but there's just way too much homework. All right? What you're going to find is you're going to get a lot of homework here. In all 4 of the classes, you're going to get a lot of homework. Any questions on anything we've gone over today? Tomorrow morning when you get in here, we are going to go over a Bitbucket exercise where we're going to create something from scratch. We're going to, just for the hell of it, we're going to create it out on Bitbucket. We're going to immediately push it to our local machine. We're going to make changes to it on the local machine. We're going to pull it from the machine to our machine, then push it back to the server. We're going to go back and forth. All right? I've already done it. It works. If you are interested, or if you say, yeah, well, can I look at it beforehand or whatever? Well, again, if you do go out to the YouTube channel, the one I mentioned to you before, there's Bitbucket Demo. That's what I did when I came in here this morning. I didn't know how long it would take, but I really took my time. There's part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. It's around an hour and 10 minutes for the whole thing. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. We also did what we just did with ShapeUp for the 3-column. You give us that as like an extra exercise? I don't think it says on the.
We have done the 2-column as a class, right? We just did that one as a class. Now, you may have put it in your 3-column, but we did it as a class. And if you had problems, again, I've taped this, so it'll all be out there. But on the back of that page is the 3-column one, and they ask you to do that too. So what I'm asking is, for this chapter, you try to do both. Does that make sense to everyone? And I want both of them turned in.
Did you give us papers? I don't see that on the PDF.
It's not on the PDF? It should be. I ran this off right from the PDF. They didn't. Since they didn't, no, then I won't. That's fine. So turn one in or the other one. All right? When we get into chapter 8, just so you know, that'll be next week. But when we do, if you look up on the screen here, that's when you're going to be able to change the size and you'll see then how it would look on a phone. All right? And I'm going to do some stuff when we get there that's not in your book. I'm going to actually introduce something. You won't have to put it in, but I'm going to show you something where we're going to add about 10 lines of JavaScript code. Why? Because that way, as you're moving your browser window, it'll show you on the top exactly how wide your browser window is. So when we hit what's called these breakpoints, you'll know why. And I think that's going to make it easier for you to understand. All right, so I'm going to add something that's, like I said, that's not in the book. That's all I have, unless there's any other questions.